This is my PowerPoint about houses in cultural context. So we started with the Westward Moving House. This was a reading. It was about a guy named Nehemiah who moved from England to New England around 1653. Um, so he moved here uh, with into like a little town type area with several other people. Um, and so they had to build their houses like by like hand, and they had to use whatever they could find, like trees and everything like that. And so probably many of these people in these towns, houses were similar in building material and stuff like that because they only had what they could find around them. Like they didn't bring a whole lot of things with them from England. Um, and in the story, Nehemiah said he modeled like his building after his home back in England. Um, and I think he said like he wasn't used to living around people who are very different from him because everybody around him was related in some way or something like that. And so when he gets over here, there's more people from different areas, so there's like a little culture sharing going around probably, and transfer from these areas into America, into these towns. So probably, there's like transfer of cultures from these European places over into America, that translates into these houses and stuff. And like they didn't have any furniture or anything or decorations for their houses. So their houses are not like fancy, obviously, because they aren't able to just have all these things or buy these things. They have to make them all and from wood that they find outside. Um, and these houses are going to depend on the area because not every house is going to be the same depending on where they are in America, um, and the culture, because these people, they're all from different places, and so there's going to be differences in these things going on. And then the story, it starts from the Maya and goes to Pliny. Um, and Pliny, you know, he he started off with more than Nehemiah because his family had set up in America. So he had basically gotten a head start instead of starting completely, from scratch like Nehemiah did. Um, so these people who came from these settlers had better houses. They were bigger, they were nicer, made out of better materials, and they had uh, clearer areas for them to build more. Like their farms, like Nehemiah had a farm and Pliny had a farm. Um, and not everybody was, so close, you know, like with their houses, and um, in general, like they weren't just like this community of people anymore because they had started businesses and stuff like that. Like um, everybody was more set up at this point, so things are more businessy and spread out. And these houses there in this time were more functional, and they could be added on to, and things like that. So these homes, they would change as the culture changed and as things needed to be changed. So did the home life. Like the way the homes are set up and the way people live in their homes is different. The culture changed, and so did the home life. Like it was completely different from the Maya to Pliny. So like I said before, the house depends on the area and the culture. It's just what's going on in the house and about the house is dependent on the culture and what's going on at the time. And then for the last people, Ray and Shirley, when they come along, it's very similar to when Pliny, with Pliny, because not only had Pliny gotten a head start, but now Ray and Shirley are getting even more of a head start. And they're getting put into this more developed world where culture is different, So their houses are better, bigger, clearer areas for them to put their houses, and things are just starting to develop a lot more. So the culture is changing and is affecting the house and the home life and everything like that. So these houses and what's going on are very important for houses develop and how people develop in the houses. All right, so the dog trot house. I didn't understand this one very well, so this could be wrong what I'm about to say. So these dog trot houses. This is a picture of a dog trot house. These houses were, they were thought to have started in like the southeastern Tennessee, like around or in 1825. And this reading, it goes over a few different houses that might fit the dog trot criteria. But they're also built before 1825. So this tells. So it goes over these houses in these areas and tells the stories of the house and of the people who built them, and it goes over what we know about them. But most of these houses, they are destroyed, and there's not really a whole lot of evidence about them, except for a few stories about them that they find and like remnants. But after all this reading, it is shown that these dog trot houses most likely did not originate in the area that they thought they did, or at the time that they thought they did in the 1825. Several of these houses are shown all these people who had built these houses in these stories had all come from other places, whether it be from England or whatever, or a different state. They all come from these different places, so it's likely that the culture, well, not the culture, the houses originated in these places that these people were from before. So that would be in a different area in a time before 1825 than they had thought. And so I think the story is kind of, well, not the story, this reading is trying to show how, these cultures and these houses, they originate from several places, or not where we see them a lot, because we see them a lot in these Tennessee areas, but that doesn't mean that they originated there, because these cultures share and then they transfer over from other places. And these houses, they fit a certain area and culture because of the way they're built. They fit certain areas better because they work better for these people in these certain types of areas who have this certain culture and this certain need for houses like this.